Buddy to stay away on the first hole. And one of the best memes of Thursday is the one that they crossed off the warning sign and said Brooks was here alongside PGA member and the Carolinas section player of the year Steve Scott. I'm Brian Katrick. Brooks was here yesterday.
He was the story, and it looked so easy for Brooks Koepka. Could have been 60 he could have shot yesterday. Missed a few makeable putts, didn't take advantage of the par 5. Brooks Koepka was the man.
We go to the tee at the 10th, and Jon Rahm has been introduced. This is our featured group today. Rahm, Spieth, and Dustin Johnson.
Dustin Johnson.
Well, Dustin Johnson introduced. Not as enthusiastically as other times. But there he is. He's a low-key guy, Steve, and he's at 1 under.
This is a low-key position on the golf course to start, almost the farthest point from the clubhouse. That may be the farthest point from the
Dallas,
fairway.
Texas, Jordan Spieth.
Well, this the only of the 4 majors that he hasn't won. That historic run in 2015. He got close. Spieth starts the day 1 under. And a good shot for Jordan Spieth, and we are off and walking here in our PGA.com featured group coverage on this Friday morning. This is our featured group. Golf Tracks will show us this 10th.
The straightaway 492-yard par 4. Just have to bomb it straight. It's a get up there and hit it. Very tough tee shot to start. These players haven't hit a golf ball from the range in about 30 or 40 minutes, so they're not quite as loose as they would like to be. The front bunkers are no good here. Got to hit the fairway, get the ball elevated, coming into this green with some height and elevation and some spin. Over this green, sits about 6 feet below the putting surface. Very difficult starting hole, and we saw that yesterday with a lot of double bogeys being recorded here on number 10.
So far today, I've played a little easier. 3 birdies, 2 bogeys, but we've just gotten started at this 10th hole. You'd much rather start on the front 9.
Certainly would. And the reason why it may be playing slightly easier right off the bat is that the 10th hole is playing a little bit more downwind than it was early on yesterday. Yesterday morning it was more back into the wind. We saw Tiger Woods in our early coverage yesterday start off with a 6 here. It's a challenging start to not hit a golf ball for a while and then get up there. I don't care how young or old you are, you're going to get tight in that shuttle ride over to that tee. And
Jordan Spieth specifically talked about that wind. He said, I felt like I played in the wind, into the wind on every hole but about 3. And you, being a former member of the Mets section, has told us, well, that can actually happen here.
A lot of times in the morning, the wind will come from the northwest or the northerly part. And then, because we are on an island, this is Long Island, so it does situate and move back from the southwest. We saw that at the U.S. Open last year, at Shinnecock as well. The wind could definitely, even though we're not right on the coast, the wind can definitely play havoc and turn at a moment's notice.
There's Dustin Johnson, who was a factor last year at Shinnecock. And, of course, we know how close he has come in major championships. Has won could probably have 3 or 4. We see where these tee shots wound up, and Dustin wondering what his fate is going to be. Big drive, but that lie over there can be dicey.
You'd much rather find the fairway bunkers, assuming you're not under a lip, than this long 3.5-inch rough, and that was, and there's spots that are a lot higher than that.
Well, that expression tells us a lot. How am I going to get from here to there? And that thumbs up is just merely, yes, I have the ball. We saw Francesco Molinari hit one left here yesterday in our featured group coverage in the morning and hit a provisional because he wasn't sure he was going to find it.
Yeah, good one. Yeah, good one, Doug. All right, you can try. Yeah. Right around a quarter.
Spieth being extra careful. Made double here yesterday, and he's in the front bunker today. Never looked settled, Steve.
He looks like he's taking too much time over the golf ball. I can't remember Jordan taking that much time to hit a shot. He talked about being more reactive yesterday in an interview with Amanda Balionis, and that wasn't really reactive from my teaching eye.
Well, this is reactive, as Dustin Johnson reacting to the lie by aiming sideways. And not digging it. AJ, I don't want to hit it over there. And that's a wedge right there, Steve.
His black shafted clubs, which he hits a lot. He hits a lot of wedges because he drives the ball far, but this is going to be just a simple pitch out layup. This green essentially it's an island green in a way, because you have these such deep bunkers that are so penalizing that we're going to see in a moment with Jordan Spieth. You cannot see the putting surface whatsoever from the front bunkers. You can barely see the top of the flagstick. So prudent play there, a little bit of damage control.
Yeah, you got the right one.
Rahm saw Spieth come up short. DJ didn't help him at all. Caddy telling him he got the right one. Let's see. 197.
Very unpredictable out of this first cut of rough.
Short and left. Had it been online, might have been the right one.
You're just never sure if it's going to fly out of that first cut of rough or if it's going to come out a little more dead. And I think in this morning, where you have the moisture in the grass a lot more than they did yesterday afternoon, it just fluffed out of there a little bit. Didn't have the speed that he was expecting.
So those are purposeful walks right there. Guys that know they are starting right here in the middle of a gauntlet.
When A.W. Tillinghast built this golf course, he didn't anticipate people starting on this monster of a par 4, and it's playing just under 500 yards, fortunately for these guys today. But there's another 10, 15 yards of tee box, teeing ground behind where they started. So PGA of America has set these golf courses up. They perennially set these golf courses up for the PGA Championship. Very fair. Sometimes with the club professionals in mind as well. There are 20 club professionals that are playing in this championship.
Well, it was here in 2002 where the USGA first went to a split tee start. The U.S. Open. It was their first ever time that they started on the 1st and 10th. And obviously this was, they didn't do a whole lot of folks a lot of favors having them start here. DJ's third. 108.
You don't drive it in the fairway on these long par fours. I like to call them par 4.5s because it just becomes a daunting task to try to make that par when you have to lay up. And we're going to see some layups. I mean, this is not something that's isolated to the 10th hole.
No, we will get you updated on Danny Lee's situation momentarily because he had the same deal in this same stretch of holes and it hasn't worked out for him. And we're going to see the other option. Now, Jordan Spieth was in the middle of the fairway. He was never going to lay up, but we'll see. Is Dustin Johnson better off now with that putt coming up for par? Or is it going to be Spieth and Rahm who will be scrambling around these greens? Who's going to have the better par putt? There's Dustin, just inside 30 feet. Can Spieth get it inside 30 feet from here?
I think so. Assuming he's on the upslope just a little bit. Now these bunkers are prepared very smooth on the faces, so the ball wants to roll back to the bottom. So not only do you have a long bunker shot, you have to hit it very high. A lot of elevation required on these greenside bunkers here. And he can only see that top part of the flag. We'll barely be able to see the top of his cap as well. Actually,
he's gone.
He disappears.
Jordan Spieth was 26. Oh, there he is. He's fine. Yeah, he's way inside 30 feet. Well done.
A lot of improvisation required there when you don't have the depth perception of how much green there is relative to where the hole is located.
Jordan's actually 25. And Jon Rahm seems to be rethinking his strategy. That doesn't look too pleased, but he's one of these guys that's kind of entertaining. The grumpier he looks, the more entertaining he is. He'll smile too, but he'll snarl at you every once in a while.
Talk about him fighting every day to really just be more calm and patient and at ease with himself. There's nothing that's very easy about this ankle high rough, however.
Well, he tracked all that stuff out on the green. He brought half of it with him. Well, that's really good.
Yeah, playing that very much like a bunker shot right there. Not making direct contact with the ball, understanding that there's going to be a lot of grass between the club face and the ball when it makes contact with it.
And look, now he's cleaning it up. That's a good boy right there. Parents will be proud, John. Can't even get the stuff out of his cleats. He's still tracking stuff out there. He didn't mean it.
All the superintendent crew to blow that off there.
Wow. Yeah. Friday morning, featured group coverage. Glad to have you with us here. Yesterday morning we had Brooks, Tiger, and Francesco, the group that everybody wanted to watch. Today, another group this morning that's going to get a lot of attention once they get away from this green. This is about as far away from the clubhouse as you get. And Dustin Johnson, by now, you know the story. Had this tournament, won. Thought he did. Brought a scorecard into the scoring trailer that would have been good enough back in 2010. Whistling Straits. Tee shot had found a fairway bunker. Dustin didn't know it. Grounded the club. He winds up missing the playoff tournament that he could have had. Also had a 54-hole lead in the U.S. Open that same year. Do you remember that went sideways at Pebble Beach?
The final round, 82. I do. It's but all those struggles led to his victory ultimately at Oakmont in the last couple of years. But he's approaching 35 years old now. This is kind of the real prime of. We saw Phil Mickelson win a lot of majors as he moved on in his career, and you would think Dustin should have a couple more, being #1 in the world, 20 PGA Tour wins.
Well, Brooks Koepka was the only player in the field that was bogey-free. Dustin Johnson only had one.
And he bogeyed his very first hole yesterday, coming right out of the box, and followed that up with 2 birdies and 15 pars.
Everyone else in the field had at least 2 bogeys or worse, except for Sung Jae Im, who only had 1, and Dustin Johnson, who only had that one you just mentioned at his first hole, and he'll do it again today. I don't remember a day with a 156-man field where all but 3 players had at least 2 doubles bogeys or worse.
There is a sign on the first tee here, Brian.
156 guys. Only 1 plays bogey-free, and only 2 of them get through with just 1. They're really good. So bogey for DJ, back to even for the championship. He's 7 behind good friend Brooks Koepka. And we'll see if Rahm can save his par.
This would be a great save. Always great to get a nice 12-foot par putt under your belt early on. And that will make him feel better.
He got it to fall in on what looked like the last roll. See how much speed this has as it gets up to the cup. Nice save from Jon Rahm. Worm cam.
Greens rolling just like a pool table right now. They are so good, and there's not a lot of break. We're going to see putts being played just on the edge, outside the edge. The challenge at Bethpage Black is simply getting to the greens. Once you get on the greens, the challenge becomes a little bit less.
Spieth in a troublesome range.
He walks that one in. I saw him walk a few in yesterday. Good sign of confidence. Jordan Spieth, he's on the rebound, going to get his game where he wants it to, for sure.
So Spieth stays 1 under and 6 shots back. Danny Lee was 1 off the lead when he started the day. Missed the fairway at 11 by a foot. Had to lay it up. Hit it in here to this spot and dropped the shot. Okay, no big deal. That's what happens. So a bogey at the 2nd hole of the day for Danny Lee, and then the very next hole. Also missed the fairway by a tiny distance. Laid it up. And had to make a long one. That wound up being a bogey for Danny Lee at the 12th. So a bogey start for Danny Lee at 11 and 12. He made a par at 10. And he's 2 over. 2 over now through his first 5 holes. And Brooks Koepka has a 3-shot lead again. So this is where Lee missed the fairway just by a smidge. on the left and had to lay up. Rahm on the tee at 11. Ooh, that's interesting. That ball sitting at least somewhat up. We can see some of it. Great camera work there. Steve, he doesn't need an excuse to go for it. He's going to try to whip that up there.
Always. Now, the players are going to be looking at a spot just to the right of the green here. The fairway is blind to the players from the tee, all the fescue obscuring their view. Not well executed right there.
All right, now DJ.
He's got the length to blow it by all the bunkers, which he has done expertly there.
Dustin trying to recover from an opening hole birdie. Well, he did that yesterday, bogeyed the first. We'll see what he does when we come back.